Hi folks, how you doing? It's a bit windy today, so I've just nipped into the shade, which is why I'm kind of stood in the bushes. Nothing creepy, honest. The Ducati Desert X, when I first picked this bike up, I put a post on the community page asking what you'd like to know. So the video's done and it's out, so if you've seen that, you've probably had your questions answered, but I thought what I'd do is do a specific response to each of you individually in this quick video. So it might end up being a bit long, as I don't ramble on about the points, but I've just picked all the comments off, all the questions that you had, and I just thought I'd go through them one by one for you. So first question, Nomading In, thanks for your question. It says, as someone relatively new to off-road, does it inspire confidence and does it really have clear and profound differences for an intermediate rider over something cheaper, lower cc such as the KTM 390 Adventure in those real world scenarios? Well, the first response is I think it does. It feels light and nimble. That's the first thing that I found when I jumped onto it. It feels very maneuverable, very flickable. If you want to change direction quickly, you can do that. It's slim, nice slim feeling. Suspension is plush. I think the rider modes are excellent. The enduro mode, which I've used, which dulls the power down to 75 horsepower, switches all of the bits and pieces on with the exception of the rear ABS. That's brilliant. You can slide the back, but it won't allow you to do it too much, and that really does give you confidence. The only thing I would say is it is a tall bike, and I know from my experience of riding off-road with Mick Extance on the Harley Davidson, his big thing is if you can touch the ground and get your feet planted on the ground, it gives you much more confidence. This might be a problem on that bike. I'm 5'10", 32-inch inside leg, and I'm really balls of my feet. So yeah, I think it's a very confidence-inspiring bike. Very easy to ride off-road, but that height could be a problem in tricky situations. Question 2 comes from JB Moto. Thank you very much. I enjoy your channel. Thank you very much again. I have 3 questions. Okay. What's the fuel economy, litres per 100 kilometres or UK MPG, and range under day-to-day riding conditions? Ducati state 5.6 litres per 100 kilometres, which is calculates out to about 50 miles per gallon. Given the 21 litre tank, that would suggest you've got 230, you can do the maths, 230-ish miles, maybe 250 miles of range. While every review I've ever seen states the bike is a joy to ride, does it have potential to complete extended tours on paved roads in something approaching comfort? I appreciate it isn't a multi-strada. Well, it's good. It is good. It's not as good as a multi-strada for that road section. It hasn't got as much wind protection. I don't find it as comfortable. The seat isn't as comfortable. So if you're doing extended roads with a bit of dirt, multi-strada all the way for me. But this is a good halfway house, to be fair. And third, are Ducati able to provide an indicative cost for bikes and major services? So you've got oil changes at 9,000 miles and a Desmo valve service at 18,000 miles. As you may have seen in the video, I did go to the Ducati dealer to try to get some prices for those, and they were shut. And I'll be honest, I forgot about this question when I came out here to film this, so I still haven't got an answer for you, but I'll try and find something and put it down in the comments. Okay, next question is from Andrew Sargisson. Sorry if I've pronounced that incorrectly, but thanks for your question. Seat height, please, Tony. For example, the Tiger 1200 Rally Pro is like getting on a giraffe. I would need stabilisers to ride it. Well, this in standard trim is 875 millimeters. That's 34.4 inches. And this seat is not adjustable. It is what it is. If you want a lower seat, you have to buy the lower seat option, which brings it down to 865 millimeters. That's 34 inches. Not a big difference. And there is also a low seat and a low suspension option, which brings it down to 845, which is a 33 inches, which is a bit more manageable, but obviously you do lose a bit of travel and a bit of ground clearance with that. Okay, next question is from AMB. Thank you very much. I like the looks and want to drop the GS 1200, but no, I hope you don't drop it. But not sure if A is enjoyable for riders that spend most time on the road with only sporadic gravel roads, and B is a good tourer for long distance travel. Thanks. Well, yeah, for me, I would want more weather protection for road touring, and I think if you are going to be doing predominantly more roads with some gravel, for me the Multistrada is a better choice. More comfortable, more protection. Yeah, that would be the one I would go for. Okay, this is a bit of a longer question from Huw Francis. He said, here's what I've been wondering because I've seen clips and shots of it off-road. Is the presence of the Multistrada Rally a bad move by Ducati? Because I've seen clips of multis with spoked wheels and knobby tyres, and I wondered if there's a massive overlap. And even if the Desert X is way better off-road, but a rally Multistrada is good for green lanes and better on the road, how will it affect sales? I hope that made some sense. Yes, it did, Huw. I guess maybe a comparison video would be on the cards. I'm not sure. Love the channel, by the way. Easily one of my favourites, not just for bikes, but on YouTube in general. So thank you very much, Huw. Yeah, so we did talk about this a little bit in the comment section, and I don't think there's much overlap, to be honest, purely because of the price difference. I mean, the Multistrada V4 Rally is a much bigger bike. It's much heavier, much more powerful. It's also much more expensive. I think they're coming at over £27,000. That little baby is £14,000. So yeah, I don't think they're fishing in the same pond, to be honest, Huw. But good question, thank you. So another question about the comparison. What is it like in comparison with the Multistrada V2S? That's from Mario Araujo, or Arujo, I don't know how you pronounce that, sorry. Yeah, as we've covered before, very similar to ride, similar kind of feeling engine, but for me the Multistrada, particularly the V2S, is much better on the road, and I find it much more comfortable. And the questions still keep coming. So SP3 asks, would love you to try with the pillion and share the opinion of rider and pillion. I rode it at the Adventure Bike Festival and loved it, but the pillion seat doesn't seem very friendly. Yeah, I'd agree. The pillion seat isn't massive. It's got quite a small grab rail, which is right behind you, nothing around the side. Sadly, I don't have a pillion that I can ride with. My wife has got no interest in motorcycles whatsoever, doesn't want to go anywhere near them. And to be honest, quite often when you pick up a press bike, you're not actually insured to take a pillion on quite a lot of those policies. So unfortunately, it's not something I can do, or I probably could arrange it, but it's probably going to be easier to try and find somebody online that's already done that, or go to Ducati with the missus and go for a test ride. Another question about its use on the highway. This is LifeSpark by Alexander Georgiev, and here the question is, how is this bike on a highway in terms of wind protection? It's not bad. That screen isn't adjustable, but it depends on your height, your build, what helmet you're wearing. It's not bad coverage, but the Multistrada again does offer much better wind protection. Okay, Mike Boysen says Life of Smokey says it sucks compared to the Norden 901, so I'm interested in your take on that opinion. Now, actually, I'll admit I didn't go away and find this video. I still will do and have a look at that, but I can give a response without watching that video, and I wouldn't say it sucks. In terms of spec, actually they're pretty similar. They're a similar kind of weight, they've got a similar kind of power output. The electronics in terms of what they've got on them is very similar too. I think it's just horses for courses. I think the Ducati is a prettier bike, but if you're going to be doing adventure travel, I think the Norden would be my pick between the two. It's got that little bit more protection, a little bit more comfortable, and dare I say, it feels a little bit more rugged. I might be doing a disservice to Ducati by saying that, but like all Ducatis, this bike still does feel kind of a little bit precious. So yeah, I wouldn't say it sucks at all. It is a thoroughly brilliant motorcycle. If you're comparing the two, I think for having fun and being feeling more flickable, more feeling like a big dirt bike, then the Ducati's got that. If you're doing adventure travel where you're going to be doing lots of distances, maybe some road, then some dirt, then it's going to be the Norden. So this topic has come up quite a bit, and Erick Wood here has asked, please tell us about the air filter service. So yeah, the air filter is in a tricky position. It does require a tank off. There's a few bikes like that. I think the Africa Twin is the same. I think for a lot of people that buy this, if you bought a brand new Ducati and you've spent £14,000 on it, your first few services you're going to get done to get your warranty done anyway, so let them do the air filter. I can't see people doing that at home, but I can see where people are coming from that. If you live somewhere where you're riding in the desert, or out somewhere where it's dusty in the US or Australia, or South Africa, somewhere where you're churning up a lot of dirt and you want to be able to pull that filter out and blow it through, then you've got a bit of a problem. I don't know how involved it is to take the tank off. I suspect once you've done it a few times, you're probably only looking at a few bolts. Yeah, no, fair point. They haven't made it easy for users to do that air filter change. Hi Charlie, I hope you're doing well. I'm going to hopefully get down and visit you soon, so I'm going to drop you a message, make sure you're not off working somewhere exotic. But I've got a couple of bikes and I kind of fancy a trip down to your part of the world, so I'll give you a shout. But his statement was, watch out T, it's bloody tall. And yeah, it is a tall bike. As I say, 32-inch inside leg for me. I'm on the balls of my feet, and that's considering I've got 100 kilos weighing it down as well. So if you're lighter and shorter, it's going to be a problem. So this is another comment rather than a question, but it comes from a long time supporter of the channel and somebody who comments regularly, and I really appreciate that input. And this is from 1990, and he simply says it looks good, and I would agree. I think it's probably one of the nicest looking adventure bikes out there on the market currently. As I kind of expected, I've got another question about comparing this to the Norden, and that's from Logan Gallagher. Thanks for your question, Logan, who said, what is it like in comparison to the Norden? And as I said before, similar specs, similar power, similar weight, although it does feel lighter and slimmer, even though in reality the weight difference between the two bikes is almost identical. So yeah, they've just got a slightly different feel about them. As I said in the other comments, I think the Norden is a bit more of an adventure travel bike. This is more of a kind of big dirt bike. If I drop the Norden, I wouldn't be too worried about that. If I drop that, I'd be slightly concerned about what it's going to cost to get it repaired and how much damage would be done. But yeah, both fantastic bikes, to be honest. It's just going to be a case of picking the one that suits your riding best. Good question from Baron Bristow, who asks, how is the engine tune different to other Ducati's use of the engine, i.e. the Supersport 950? Well, it's kind of essentially on the for the bulk of the engine it's exactly the same, but they've all been slightly reworked, so it's more than just the tune. This bike apparently has got a different cam profile, and it has also got a shorter first and second gear, which obviously makes it a little bit more suitable for that off-road riding. But in overall character, the engines are very similar. They kind of feel the same, they sound the same. I like the engine. I think it's a nice smooth engine. It does sound still like a bag of nails when you first start it, but once it's warmed up, it's pretty good. It's got a good exhaust note, and it's a nice flexible engine. You can be lazy with your shifts, and you can leave it in too high gear coming out of bends, and it will pull you out of it. It is a cracking motor. And again, another comment on that same topic. Benjamin Felix Berger says, go ahead, clean or change the air filter, I dare you. Well, I'm not going to do that, and we've already covered that off, but thanks for your comment, Ben. Question from another long-term viewer and supporter, and somebody I've met in person a few times. So Jon Elvidge has asked, why did they offset the filler cap? Pain in the rear if you normally use a Jivy tank lock or SW Motec tank bag. I appreciate it allows you to fill the tank higher, but really, yeah, John, I kind of see your point. That's the first thing I looked at when I picked it up. I saw that offset, and I thought, well, that's going to be a bit of a pain. If you look at the tank, there are no bolt holes around it as well. So if you do want to put an SW Motec magnetic tank ring on there, you've got nowhere to bolt it to anyway. So it is a bit of a pain. but as I say, you're not going to be able to use that existing tank ring, and if you've got a strap-on bag that goes in the middle, you might still be able to fill up without taking the tank bag off, and that could be pretty handy. And then the last question that I've got comes from Theodoris, or Thodoris, but I think it's Theodoris, who simply says too expensive. And well, that's relative, I guess. Define expensive. At £14,000 it is a lot of money, but as I've found with all Ducatis, it's really well built. The components are really nice. There's a lot of kit on it. It is more expensive than the Norden, it's more expensive than the KTM 890 Adventure R and the standard one. It's a lot more expensive than the Tenere 700, but I think it's just what it is. It's Ducati pricing. So I hope that was useful. Apologies, I'm still getting used to this new little Nikon Z30 vlogging camera that I bought. It's much lighter than my other mirrorless cameras to bring out and do this kind of thing, and it's the first one I've had where I've got a flip out screen that looks at me, and I've still, doesn't matter how many years I've been doing this, I still find myself drawn to looking at that screen when I should be looking there into the camera. So apologies for that, but I hope I answered your questions. If this is the sort of thing that you think works, then I can do this for other bike and gear reviews. Post something on the community page, get your questions in, then do a little video answering those questions. Yeah, just let me know if you think that works.